then 3 high pulls, then on the third high pull, then a clean, and do 3 seesaw presses. Harder. As opposed to even floors where I have to be a lot more mindful, or not a lot less mindful about my stepping. Like, working out in my backyard today. Usually when I go to the playground, I'm limited to the amount of weight that I can take there. So decided to stay in the backyard so that I have access to all my equipment. I'll be limited in terms of pull-ups and stuff, but I've done quite a bit of pull-ups over the past 3-4 days. So it's probably in my best interest to take somewhat of a break from that movement. So yeah, today is going to be with everything that's in frame right now, with my kettlebells, my steel maces, and the landmine. And yeah, let's get started. So this is my third set, and I'm going to do a kettlebell complex to a kettlebell exercise. So starting off with swing squats, to figure 8 snatch, to overhead squat, to a lateral tactical clean, and repeat. I like these sort of things where it's a pattern that you can easily repeat on both sides. And also gets the entire body working. Little awkward with the tactical clean there. And then with my 35-pound kettlebells, going to do single double gorilla rows. So by single double I mean one-handed row, both-handed, single double, single double, single double. Went for 5 of that. So yeah, I'm going to superset these two back to back to start off. Between both those movements, goddamn mosquitoes. Between both those movements, I hope I actually caught it and killed it, but between both of these movements, the whole body is at work and should really get your heart rate racing. It's like cloudy and humid and hot. Uh, There's something about weather like that's cloudy, and it feels like it's going to rain, but doesn't actually rain. There's a sort of silence in the air, a kind of peace. Like usually, if the sun is out, there's like activity outside. There's like people doing stuff. You can even hear the animals kind of making sounds. But when it's like cloudy and it's not raining, there's almost like this ominous silence, which I find peaceful. Like it's not fun to have this weather all the time, but I don't know, there is something peaceful about this kind of weather. But my favorite kind of weather is like uh, sunny, hot, but not like super hot, and with a little bit of humidity. If it's too dry, that sucks too. Well, not sucks, but uh, it's still fun when it's dry. But uh, there's like when there's just a little bit of humidity, you start sweating a lot, uh, like easier. And there's something about like working up a sweat that feels like uh, like a stress is kind of being released along with the sweat, if that makes sense. Which is why I think like a lot of people find the sauna de-stressing, is because it kind of like works whatever that system is, and kind of gets that, I guess, tension build up out of the way. With the overhead squat, I'm staying on my toes while doing it to get a full knee bend. Ah, bad footing. With the swing squat, you're trying to like swing it hard forward, and you're trying to use that momentum going forward as a counterweight to a squat back. And you should be able to get into a deep squat because of that counterweight. But yeah, going to do this for one more set. I think that was 4 sets, so I have to do one more to get 5, and then on to the next thing. So this next movement is not an original movement. It's something that I saw on Instagram yesterday, done by Shaida Ishragi, Instagram handle Da Kettlebell Queen, DA Kettlebell Queen. So the movement is like a suitcase hold curtsy lunge, curtsy lunge thruster. So it looks like this. Suitcase hold is whenever one kettlebell is held, or whatever weight is held on the side, kind of like holding a suitcase. Other weights in rack position, and I'm going to do a thruster and a curtsy lunge all in the same movement. So going for 5 each side. There's mosquitoes. Too many damn mosquitoes. After 5 each side of that, doing kettlebell, or not kettlebell, steel mace 360 to squat. Going for 5 each side. Using my 15-pound steel mace for that movement. Again, between both of these exercises, pretty much every muscle in the body gets worked to a certain degree and really gets the heart rate going. Plus, it's really humid, so that adds to the challenge. And it's, like if you're someone that trains indoors all the time, that's even if like you're doing long bouts of cardio on the Stairmaster or whatever, or running on the treadmill, the experience of working out outdoors for whatever reason is quite a bit different. Like outside of just temperature and stuff, there is like the there's the humidity, like whether the sun's beating down or not, and each of it kind of comes with like its own set of like feelings. And one of the things I hate about I was telling earlier how I like this sort of like ominous, peaceful weather, but one of the things about this kind of weather is it really brings out the mosquitoes. But it is what it is. Yeah, it's but back to my previous point, it's really good to work out outdoors. Another thing about working out outdoors is in most gyms the floor is even, and outdoors the floor is uneven, forcing your feet and stuff to work a little harder to find the footing, to kind of find your balance and things like that. And I think those kinds of things are underappreciated as far as the overall health and performance of your leg. Like I think it's really good like one of the things that goes most undertrained are the muscles in your toes because of how large the soles of most modern footwear is, and as a result you never really get to bend your toes while like squatting and stuff. And like, yeah, just in general, like the ankle is much more limited in its rotation and stuff. And I think as a result, people get weak feet, uh, and and they end up training every other muscle above the ankle except for the tibs. So they, like, a lot of people train calves, quads, hamstrings, but don't really train tibs, don't really train ankle rotation, and don't really train the muscles in the feet. And as a result, what happens is, like, everything else gets big or stronger relative to the feet, which I think creates an imbalance and also leads to much more potential for injury, because uh, um, um, the rest of your body is acting as if it's, like the whole concept of you're only as strong as your weakest link. Like, imagine you had a paper or a bag, the bottom of which was made with like really dense paper, or not, I don't know, plastic or whatever, like dense, heavy duty, whatever fiber, but the handles were made of plastic. So you could put a ton of weight in the bag, but eventually, because the handles supporting it are weak, the handles would break, even though the rest of the bag would stay intact. I hope that analogy makes sense. So what ends up happening is you start loading your body with heavy weights because all these other muscles are strong, but then the handles, in this case the ankles, uh, is weak, and like the tibs are weak, and they end up like giving out under certain kinds of pressure. I hope that made sense. Ah, all right. And just over here, like, because of the uneven footing, I have to be a lot more conscious about the steps that I'm taking, and also that forces me to be a lot more aware about my balance, and my core has to work a lot harder, as opposed to even floors where I have to be a lot more mindful, or not a lot less mindful about my stepping. Like, yeah, a lot more, like, I don't have to think that much about my stepping in a gym because the floor is always the same level. That doesn't mean you never should train on a level surface. I'm just saying that if you're someone that's just working out in a temperature controlled even setting all the time, that's not what most of nature is like. I think that was my 4th set. I'm gonna do one more and then on to the next thing. For this next set of movements, trying to get a little creative. So using my cat's litter container to put my kettlebells in. So I'm going to put both my 35-pound kettlebells in there, which should make this 70 pounds. And then with my 25-pound kettlebell, I'm going to do shoulder presses. So I'm going to hold on to this, and while holding on to it, do shoulder presses. Going for 8. Switching sides. So going to do one more thing before I move into kettlebell juggling. So going to do two-handed kettlebell swings for 3 reps. Then 3 high pulls. Then on the 3rd high pull, then a clean and do 3 seesaw presses. I'm going to repeat this 3 times. I'm gonna do 3 sets of that. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I only did 4 sets instead of 5 on the previous movement. Because I still wanted to do this movement, and yeah, I just wanted to save some energy for this and for the juggling. Humidity definitely increases the difficulty of working out by at least twofold. Random thought. As much as I hate mosquitoes, I've probably killed like 7 of them just today. But it's interesting, like for every, even though you kill one, the others are still willing to come and try and bite you. And it's more likely than not that I guess they're going to die, but they still do it, which I guess is kind of interesting. Like they must really like blood that much to where they're willing to die for it. One more set. Yeah, should I record it? Nah, I'll just do it on my own time. So unfortunately, ran into some audio issues while recording this part. I think it was the moisture in the air. Like for whatever reason, my iPhone had liquid in charging port warning when I took my phone off the tripod, like after I was done recording. And so it seems like somehow moisture got into the same, I guess, into the lightning port area where I plug in the microphone's receiver, and it messed up the audio big time. Like absolutely no words were recorded, and yeah. In any case, it felt like I was making some good points while I was juggling, so I'm going to try and speak about some of it right now as kind of like a overlay to me juggling. So pretty much one of the things that was on my mind while I was doing juggling was like working out with a steel mace and kettlebell in the way that I do isn't something that I've been doing for an extremely long time. I've learned pretty much everything that I know from online resources, and uh, pretty much I try to perform, like when I see something, I try to perform the movement and try to make it look as close as possible to what I'm seeing online. And I also keep taking account of how my body feels while performing the exercises, in the sense that I try to look for awkwardness. If I'm like, is the movement feeling smooth? So, um, when you notice someone who does something, like who's really good at doing something, especially when it, like for example, let's say dance, uh, their movements seem effortless. Their movements, like there is a flow to it, a smoothness to it. And so whenever I'm working out, especially with like kettlebell juggling or steel mace flow kind of stuff, I'm constantly taking account of how my um, body feels, and does the movement feel like I'm working much harder than it's supposed to be. In like I follow some kettlebell jugglers online, and uh, like the good ones make it seem really effortless. uh, it feels like at the present moment, like the way I juggle seems like I'm still applying a lot of effort to it, and I'm not as fluid as I would like myself to be. But that's kind of that idea of keeping like a personal account of like what right looks like, and then trying to make the differences within yourself to make it look that way. And with most things that I've learned from a workout perspective, it has been that, like, that's kind of the way I learn things. And like, so this was kind of the main point that I was getting at while I was juggling outside but didn't get recorded, that the human learning mechanism is very similar to how machine learning algorithms are trained. So, in the sense that, um, like, one of the most popular uh, projects in AI that most machine learning students do as one of their first projects is the classification of iris flowers based on petal and sepal length, and to have an to create a AI or a machine learning model that can accurately predict what uh, type of iris flower it is by the petal length and sepal length uh, dimensions given to the model. So the way they make it work is, they compare the output that the machine is giving to what the output should be. And if the training data, which is what the output should be, is not accurate, then the model is not going to work right. Also, there is a learning function that calculates how far away from the model's output is compared to the final result, compared to what the actual result should be. And that's kind of how I think about learning new things while working out. I visually observe what uh, like people who are really good at things, or what I'm trying to learn, uh, like when they do the thing, how do they look performing it, and then I perform or try to perform said movement, and then like I'm constantly analyzing my form, and uh, make taking notes of how what I'm doing differs from what the person I'm watching online is doing. And that's kind of how I've been learning the steel mace and kettlebell stuff. And also, a lot of it is having a sort of body awareness. So, having worked out for a really long time and having done different kinds of workout styles, bodybuilding, powerlifting, running, etc., and now kettlebell and steel mace style training, I have a lot of, I guess, awareness of how the body works with uh, each muscle group and how they work together and stuff like that, and what I'm supposed to feel, like that mind to muscle connection. And anytime I, like, even now that I record my videos, I'm able to watch it back and view my form and view like how I look uh, while performing any exercise with more scrutiny. And then I have like a more clear idea of uh, is the movement, is the movement I'm doing like with good form, um, does it look effortless, am I doing it smoothly, etc., etc., etc. And so like with anything, initially it might not be the case that you look or you're performing the thing right. So, for example, I started using the steel mace at episode 100, and I looked like really bad, like my form was terrible. And the but in like observing what other people who swing the steel mace look like while doing it, I was able to then observe myself and correct the form. So that's kind of the idea is first, like your first the first time you do anything new, it's going to probably look bad, and you're going to have to slowly work your way up and keep giving your body more training data and keep comparing itself to the actual, what the actual output should look like, then rectify that within yourself, and then keep training your internal machine learning algorithm with a lot of training data, and then eventually your body will give the right output. This might have been a very complicated and convoluted way to make that point, but it is what it is. I guess that's how my mind works. But yeah, that was it for the video. See you all tomorrow.